Hey, it's Steve Zotke, Traction Reaction Podcast. I am at the American Museum of Speed in Lincoln, Nebraska. And needless to say, this is heaven on earth here. I am in one of the newer exhibits. It's the Sam Hanks exhibit. And what this is Sam's den at his house in Pacific Palisades. I was blessed probably about almost 10 years ago to have lunch with Alice Hanks and spend some time at the house. I'm sitting there with Alice in the house, and one of my concerns is, God, what's going to happen to this after she's gone? And I was so happy when I spoke to Phil Riley and said, and that, yes, it was going to be donated here. So let's take a tour of the house, or I should say of the den. Love the attention to detail. One of the nice touches they did is they have how it would look looking out the patio door over the Pacific Ocean up on the bluff where the house sat in the Pacific Palisades. One thing when you walked into the room you noticed right away was that painting of Sam Hanks' 1957 winner above the couch. That was pretty much the center of the den. Here we see what kind of how the garage looked like. He had those toolboxes in the garage. And marvelous decals dating back to the 40s. Fantastic. I do like how they added the midget. It's a nice touch. But that's pretty much how the garage looked. That was still in place when I visited. There's a nice shot of some of the decals there. And they have Alice on the vintage TV with the new screen. And what's interesting is that so Sam came down to Tremonto Street and there was 3 lots for sale. And he says, if I do really well at Indianapolis this year, I think we should buy one of these lots. So him and George Sally actually have ended up winning the race, of course, in the Ballon exhaust special, which you can see above the couch there. And so they bought the lot and built this beautiful open concept house. I think it had 3 bedrooms, and it was, but the rear of the house, which faced the Pacific Ocean, pretty much was all, especially in the front room, was all ceiling to floor windows with multiple patio doors, and then a porch that pretty much went the entire rear of the house. I'll sprinkle in some photos here. And it was just a marvelous house at probably one of the best locations you could have in Pacific Palisades. And what's interesting about Sam was not only was he, very involved, of course, as a driver, driving midgets and later Indy cars at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and as well as on the dirt 1 mile ovals. But he was also involved in aviation, and he had a lot of friends in aviation. In fact, he was one of the first people to go supersonic as a civilian in a plane. And I think he also did Mach 2 in a plane in the mid-60s, and I'll show you the placard on that in just a moment here. But he also had friends in aviation, including Alice and Sam were very close to Gus Grissom and Gordon Cooper, as well as the Apollo 1 team. In fact, Sam and Alice went down to Cape Canaveral the week before the infamous Apollo 1 plugs out test, and they actually got to see the inside of the capsule. They were given, pretty much a behind-the-scenes tour of the Apollo capsule, and that very chilling the way Alice told me that story. Very sad too, but incredible. Now, if you look on top of the shelves where all the trophies are, and you'll see those photos. They did a marvelous job of reproducing that. Sam had actually had that wallpaper done locally, and he put it up. It was up against the top of the den and went up into the ceiling. And unfortunately, in 1994, they had the Northridge earthquake, and the house received some minor damage. But part of it was it cracked the drywall in that area. I'll show you some of the photos here in just a moment. But they were unable to salvage that, so they just basically reproduced all the photos. Just a fantastic job they've done here at the American Museum of Speed. Hat tip to Bob Mays, the curator, as well as everybody involved, including Clay Smith and his group here. Just a fantastic, really neat, and just a cool concept. I'm just so glad they were able to salvage the Sam Hanks Den. Just one of the many things you'll find here at the American Museum of Speed in Lincoln, Nebraska.
And it's on a beautiful stand.
That wall is great.
That is, isn't it?
Yeah. Looking at it on television, it's just super.
That was the first car I ever drove. That's the outboard powered engine.
With the outboard.
Yeah. That's the old car that I drove so much and so many years. That was my midget, the Curtis midget, and it was sponsored by Munz.
It had the engine in it from the original number 5.
And they said,
Yeah, the
No, but it's number 25 midget engine, serial number.
that's the same car as the number 5.
But it's on a board track, right?
On a board track at Soldiers Field.
Now, is that the only board track